Everyone, and welcome back. So I've just embarked on one of my most challenging adventures yet. A return trip on the Attack of the Buns route in Australia. That's right, I'm doubling down on the challenge, aiming to cover over 600k in just 4 days. This journey is about pushing limits and seeing how far I can go as I gear up for the epic Silk Road Mountain race in August. From the relentless effort of riding from dusk till dawn to the crucial gear choices that kept me moving, including my trusty Polygon G7, this ride has been an incredible test of endurance. Whether you're here for the sheer adventure, curious about the lessons I learned along the way, or the gears that made this all possible, you're in the right place. I'll start by the adventure with footage from the ride, and then we'll follow with what I've learned about bikepacking during those 4 days, to finish on a quick bike check, including the parts that really made a difference. Let's dive into this incredible journey together. So I'm setting on this journey with my Polygon G7, a set of restrap bags and a few Gato modifications for a total weight of 34 kilos. Starting from Buns at 5:30 am, I rode for about 20 k's on the tarmac, passing through Exeter, and it was very foggy. But once it lifted up, it really started to be quite beautiful out there.
First obstacle of the day.
It got pretty rough pretty quick, but the beauty of Moreton National Park really made up for all these climbs and how many fences I had to carry the bike over. Thanks, National Parks. The variety of flora was stunning. From jungle ferns to gum trees to rugged plains, it's all different.
Oh yes. It's not a bitch hill.
While the first 90 k's had a few big climbs, I felt really comfortable on the bike and felt like I could push through pretty far.
So first 90k is already pretty tough. Just stopped into the basically one only town before I set off for the next 160k's, and I'm gonna have a lunch. So getting a few pies from the servo because it's Easter weekend, so nothing's open.
Setting off on the next 160k without resupply points. Lunch hit a little hard and I had to take a midday nap.
So I just finished walking up a 2k fire trail of loose gravel. This is not my idea of fun at all. It's cooked.
It was constant ascent for about 50 k's in the baking sun, averaging 30k an hour. On something that looked flat, but wasn't. But after 170k, I got rewarded by his amazing stars in the sky in a clearing near Saffras. Despite being a 10-hour first day, it felt pretty good. I pitched a tent and it wasn't pitch black yet, and I felt pretty good about the following day. But obviously the body's wearing out pretty quickly on those kind of distances. Connoisseurs of fine food, welcome! In order to save some time to start early in the morning, 5:30 in that case, I ate cold baked beans straight out of the can. Yum! I had 70k to go to the next town, including 30 in complete wilderness with zero reception.
Alright guys, it's official. I have made it back out to that river, which is the last thing I saw before getting rescued last time. So, pretty big win.
After having resupplied out of Braidwood, I was on my way again, but it was getting hot and it was going to get steep.
Fucking hot out there, about 25. Just knocked 6, 7, 8, 9 Ks at 6%. I'm pretty toast. I reckon I've got another 100k to go, and it's 3 p.m.
I made it to Bungendore on day 2. First half of the ride complete, but I had to get back if I wanted to make it back to work on Tuesday. So after a quick snack stop in Bundanon, I was back on the road, hoping to clear at least 50 k's. So day 3 and day 4 could be a little more relaxed.
Bravo 6, going dark.
So obviously I finished in the dark. I got to campsite at about 8:30 after a few sketchy descents. This was the longest day of the trip by a margin. After a tough morning where I didn't feel like it and I felt absolutely crap. After lunch and having 6 sausage rolls, I felt a lot better. Despite the heat, I managed to clock an extra 110k after 2 p.m, which really was an accomplishment considering my original state. Day 3 was supposed to be easier, with a lot more downhill. but I would somehow rip my rear tubeless valve off, which cost me a good 15-20 minutes to fix. And then I hit a massive wall. After getting back from Braidwood for breakfast, I could not get myself to pedal more. I was exhausted. Don't believe what's on this shot. I am truly hating life right then, and wondering why the hell am I even doing this? The 40k's remote section is really slow. It takes ages to clear at maybe 11-12k an hour average.
Okay, so I'm about 102 k's in, and I reckon I've got about 80 to go to get to Nora, and it's mostly downhill, except 2 huge climbs, but most of that should be pretty quick, so hopefully I get there before it gets dark. Place your bet.
I didn't quite make it before sunset, but I was pretty close and I stayed there. It meant I could fill myself with Western greasy food. Day 3 was really tough mentally, mostly because the downhill section wasn't as fast as I was hoping it would be. The last 2 climbs weren't very long, but inclined 12 to 13%, which really took it completely out of me at the end of the day. The last day was always going to be challenging, because Nora is at the bottom of the valley and I was going to ride all the way back up to the top of Morton National Park. Even with eating heaps of carbs and sugar products, I couldn't get myself energized.
So I just pushed my bike up the hill for about 10 k's just then, and I generally don't think I want to touch a gravel bike ever again.
After a grueling 2 hours hike a bike, I made it back to Bundanon, clearing just above 600 k's over 4 days, which is by far the most I've ever done, especially with a loaded bike. The bike took an absolute beating, but all in all, it fared well. I didn't really have any major issues, except the valve bursting on the day 3 and the lack of oil, which was totally my fault. Alright guys, now I'll just go through a few things that I've learned during this ride. So first, 2,500 meters of elevation a day is a huge amount on a loaded gravel bike. That's over 30 kilos. Completely different from being on a roadie and way harder. Rough and steep section can make you lose hours. If you hike a bike for an hour, you've just lost 20 k's on your daily distance goal. So don't underestimate that, and make sure that you study the route before heading. Nutrition is probably the most important thing ever. Every time I forget to re-eat, after 20 minutes I start feeling low and I lose my rhythm and my energy, physically and mentally. Upon eating, I just feel so much better. So nutrition is basically everything. Saying that, mental is just as important. Even my legs are spinning and I felt okay from a body perspective. On day 3 and 4, my head felt like absolute crap. I just didn't really allow me to enjoy the last days, which really was a shame. Wet camping gear is probably the worst thing that can happen to you in this kind of situation. Because I would start before the sun got up and finish after the sun went down. I couldn't dry my tent and sleeping bags, so I would pack them wet in the morning and then unpack them wet in the evening, sleeping in them. That really made for a lot of discomfort. So I don't really know how I'm going to get around that on the Silk Road, but I need to probably find a way to ride longer through the night and then sleep longer in the morning so camping gears have time to dry, because it's really like, I can't see myself sleeping in a wet tent for 2 weeks. Good bags make a huge difference. I used to rock those Amazon bags, which were okay but kept getting loose. And it's kind of hard to access food and the other stuff you need. So Bikes Online kitted me out with a set of re-strap bags, and holy crap, the difference is huge. You can just reach out really easily into those bags. You can actually just take them off without having to fiddle around the whole handlebar mount setting and stuff. So that makes a huge difference in terms of time and convenience to access your kit. Now I'd like to run you through the part of the bike that I found super helpful during the ride and parts that really stood out and helped me finish. I'll start by the profile design aero bars. The rest you get in your wrist, and the difference it makes on the flats is huge. It helps you relax and not feel as much pain as you would holding a normal handlebar. Plus, you definitely feel speedier. The 12-speed mountain bike SRAM Eagle cassette with the 52 teeth at the rear was a godsend. I spent a lot more time on this gear than I would like to admit, but it really goes up most hills, even if it's super steep and you're completely cooked after all this riding. The 45C and 50C tires went super well. It adds a lot more comfort. I went for a fat thread pattern at the back and a grippy tire at the front. It really helps with control without compromising too much on speed. And finally, my 550mm spank bars. The bike came with a 460mm, which is way too narrow for my liking. You just get a lot more space for your hands, which is super important when you're riding that long. It allows you to move your hands as you go, and you just feel more comfortable on the bike, on top of bringing a lot more control in the descents. And there we have it, the end of an epic journey. Taking on the Attack of the Buns route not just once, but as a return trip, has been a monumental challenge. Covering 600 Ks over 4 days was as tough as it sounds, but also as rewarding. I've learned so much about resilience, preparation, and the importance of reliable gear. Shout out to my Polygon G7 for being such a solid companion on this ride. I'm not lying to you when I'm saying this probably was the hardest bike feat I've done so far on such a long period. Even if I finished and I felt pretty good about this, I don't know how ready I am actually for the Silk Road mountain race. I guess we'll find out soon. If you'd like to know more about the custom Polygon G7 from Bikes Online I've built for the occasion, watch my bike build video where I dive more in detail onto the bike. Thanks for following along, keep pushing your limits, and I'll see you out there on the next adventure. Ciao!